I'm Christine, aka Crafty Potential, and I'm on the design team for Arden Creative Studios, and I thought today I'd show you a project of how to make your own custom little postage stamp toppers that you can cluster up onto a card, use them on a journal page or a scrapbook layout, however you want to do them, and it's kind of like a batch making sort of process for them as well. So for this project, we're using almost everything from the Page Starters collection with one of the stencils from the Vintage Makers collection, just to add a little bit of stencil detail into the background as well. But I wanted to show you how you can make these small little, almost like little works of art that you can turn into little postage stamps for using on your project. Whether you are a card maker or whether you like to do your journaling or your scrapbooking, they're a nice little embellishment that you can add anywhere you want to, and you can really take your time and have fun making a small little masterpiece to go inside these little postage stamp frames. So the first thing that I did to start off these cards is I took the Postage Essentials 01 die set, I took it out of the packet, I took the postage stamped die, so the one that has the actual postage stamp edge, and I've taken a piece of A5 white card and I've just drawn around the inside of it. I've done 9 times. You can do this as many times as you want to. You can just work on one as well if you want to, but I did it 9 times so that I could make plenty of little stamps to create multiple different projects. And then once I've got the sort of rough idea of where the background for each of the postage stamps is going to be, I can start adding colour. Now, I just chose a random selection of distress inks in some gorgeous green tones, but also mixing in some orangey yellow tones as well. So I've gone with Scattered Straw, Ripe Persimmon, Evergreen Bough, Pine Needles, Bundled Sage and Rustic Wilderness as well. And all you want to do is just build up some colours on here. Now, I do quite like to get all of the colours on one of the little postage stamps, and you might think that that is impossible to do, but it is actually possible. You can get all of those little colours onto one of them, because if you're working on a couple of different ones, you can blend the same colour going across 2 of them, so you'll just get a small amount of it on there, but you can actually get all of those colours on there. So let's speed through this of me adding the colour to this. Okay, so now we've got to this point, you might be thinking that looks like an absolute mess, but it really does come together. When you get all of the stamping and stenciling onto here, it really does all just meld together and give you some beautiful effects, especially when you think about you're just focusing on a small area on this. So, first of all, I took the Botanical Clusters stamp set, and using some Hickory Smoke archival ink, I wasn't sure if I was going to splatter anything onto these, so I thought archival was a good option. So with our Hickory Smoke archival ink, I'm just inking this up and stamping it all over, so you're spanning 2, 3, 4 postage stamps every time you're stamping, just to get some subtle or bold, however it ends up being, detail in the background of your postage stamps. Okay, so we've just got that initial part in our background. Then we can also come in with the other stamp from this set as well, which has a little bit more closer together kind of detailed designs on here and less solid pieces, because this butterfly's got quite a bit of solid stamping on it. This one's a little bit less solid, it's more like just liney details, this one. So we can add this beautiful image in here as well. Just filling up all of the areas with any of this gorgeous detail. Doesn't matter if it overlaps, because this isn't going to be very like legibly seen. It's just that bit of interest and background detail onto our background. So we've got those images. Then, as an overall kind of pattern, I took the Fancy Flourish stencil from the Vintage Makers collection, and I just placed this directly over the top. It's quite nice working on an A5 piece of card, because then your A5 stencils fit directly over the top. And then, keeping with the same distress colours, instead of going for an archival ink, we're going back to our distress inks in Hickory Smoke and inking over this whole stencil just to add a bit of subtle flourishing design in the background as well. And this also means that any of those areas where you saw when I was ink blending that I was smudging those pencil lines, that kind of added a little grey element to our ink blending anyway, so this is going to just tie in nicely with that. So now we have our initial layers of our background here. We also want to add in a bit of splatter, because splatter always makes everything better. So first of all, we're going to go in with water. So we're just going to spray a little bit onto our mat, get a fine paintbrush, pick up the water and just splatter it all over. Doesn't matter where we're splattering it, because we're going to be chopping this up into different elements, so it can be anywhere and everywhere. Okay, then we can take a piece of kitchen roll and blot off the excess water to reveal our gorgeous splattering effect on here. Now we're not done with the splatter. Now we want to add an extra splattering effect with some sparkle. So this is one of the aqua glitter glosses, just the clear sparkle, but anything clear and sparkly will work. I'm going to squeeze some out onto my glass mat and then exact same way splatter it with my paintbrush. And this time, instead of dabbing the excess off, we're going to dry it. Now finally, to add even more depth into our splatter, we're going to use some white calligraphy ink. So we're just going to take a little bit of this out of the pot and apply it into a little puddle of water, just to loosen it up a little bit. Just take a few brushfuls into a little drop of water to make us a nice loose white ink to splatter. And then we're just going to do exactly the same thing. Just do a nice little fine splatter this time. Go a little bit more light-handed this time, with a little bit of white on here. And then again, we're going to dry this. So now comes the fun part of snipping this into pieces and stamping our focal images, so a nice black crisp image onto the top of these. So I'm going to just select out the first two of these rectangles, but I would be doing this to all of them. But in this case, I already have quite a few cards made with these, so I think we'll just go with a couple of these so that I can just show you the whole process behind it. But I would be repeating this with all of them. And I'm going to use my stamping platform for this. You don't have to, you can use acrylic blocks, but when you've spent a little bit of time building up a background, it's quite nice to know that you're going to get a nice, good image. And as you can see, I've already been using my stamping platform for this technique. So now we're going to place these into our stamping platform. I always like to have a piece of scrap paper on the back just to catch any overstamping, and I'm just going to secure them down with a little piece of tape. We might be able to use our magnets depending where we position our stamp, but for now I'm going to go with tape, and I'm going to go with this stamp here, which is this beautiful one on the bottom of this Wispy Stems stamp set here. So I'm going to position this so that I'm going to get a nice arrangement on both of these postage stamps. I'm going to get that beautiful head on this one, and then we're going to get a nice filling sort of arrangement on that one. And I can actually get my magnets in a couple of areas on there as well. Then we're going to pick this up with the lid of our stamping platform, check that they don't move too much, and then take our black ink and ink up just the portions where we know it's going to touch our stamps. I think that's about right. And then press this into position. Might need a tiny bit more over here. But other than that, we've got a perfect impression. Okay, so we've now got the main image perfectly stamped on here. Now I think I'm just going to leave them in the stamping platform while we do this, but the next elements we can just use acrylic blocks for, because they're just going to be smaller little elements. But for this, we're going to go with some of the sentiments that are in this set, and also some of the postage stamps that are in this set. After all, we are making postage stamps, so we might as well use postmarks on our postage stamps. So, because we're only doing two here, I don't need too many other bits and pieces on here, but I think we're going to go for the word loved on this one. And then I think we're going to use one of the postmarks on this one. Let's do best of times right now, right here. Whoops. Okay, so we just need a couple of acrylic blocks, and then we can use our black ink again, ink this up, and then we've left a nice space there, perfect for that postmark. And then this one with the word loved, I'm going to stamp it. I can see the pencil line here. You might not be able to see the pencil line, but I can see it in real life or in person. And I'm going to stamp loved there, and then I'm going to do some ghost stamping of it in the background as well. And we could also ghost stamp this perhaps over here. A little bit of ghost stamping of our postmark as well. But there we have our two postage stamps ready to be finished off. So let's take these pieces and move everything else out of the way. So I've already got a few bits left over from my previous making of the other 4 cards, because I was making 9 stamps and I used 2 on each, so I have 1 left over, which we could use on this, or we could go with the ones that we just created. We'll have to see what we feel like. And then for the sentiment on this one, I have done the Miss You, and I've die cut the white one from a Linen Effect white card, and then I've cut it from black as well to give it a little drop shadow. And this is the Miss You sentiment that came out in the Page Starters collection as well. And then we're going to need a mat to go onto our card, and then we're going to need to cut some more postage stamp edges for these. So you can see here how one of these turns into one of those just by die cutting it. And we might as well make all 3 of these into stamps, because we could actually put 3 on this project. So let me get another piece of black card as well. And then to create the little frame, you want to go back to the Postage Essentials, and you want to take the postage one that we drew around before and the rectangle. Now you could, if you want to, just cut this solid from black and then cut your rectangle out and stick it on top. However, I think it's nicer to have a frame going over the top of it. So we actually want to cut both of these together using some tape to secure them into position so they don't accidentally go over the top of each other when you're die cutting. So we're going to tape those two together and we'll die cut these, and we're going to do a second one as well, so we've got enough to finish both of these. And a great thing about a lot of the Arden dies is they will fit through your small little die cutting machines like your Sidekick. So we can quickly die cut this frame. Like so. And you also get the interior piece, so you can save that for another project. We'll die cut a second frame just so we've got enough to finish them all. And then to make it so that these fit really nicely and turn into a topper, you could, if you want to, just use the rectangle, cut this out and recess it back into this stamp. But to make it so it's a topper that can be moved around and you can play around with the layout of it before you commit to anything, the way I've been doing it is I've just been taking just the postage die and then cutting out this with the postage die. And originally we drew round this to get our little pencil rectangle. So now we can line this up perfectly with our pencil rectangle that you can just see in there, but it will be covered by the die cut when you put that over the top, but we can just about still see it. And then we can tape that into position and run this through. We can add our frame back over the top. And there we have our perfect little postage stamp that's like a mini work of art that we have created in a batch making kind of style. And we'll do the other one as well. Cut this one out. And place the postage stamp frame over the top. It has got a specific way round that it goes, that's why I'm taking a while to put it over the top. I'm just checking that it's the right way round, but that is our second little postage stamp. So they just make such cute little embellishments that you can use on your projects. So let's stick all of these together, just using a little bit of glue on the back of the frame to attach them. All of our little stamps and our sentiment stacked up. So now I think, because we have three, we could do a different variation and we can actually do a landscape card with three little postage stamps on here, and they say kind, loved, and then best of times, right here, right now. So we can stack these up and then we can have our little miss you going across the bottom there. I think a little bit of variation in the heights of those will look better. Then I'll miss you there, and then I'm taking a little bit of vellum from the Page Starters collection in the multi-pack with the different types of paper, and I think have it, do we want it going all the way across? We could have it going all the way across. So a thinnish strip of vellum just to help the sentiment pop out a little bit across there. I think that would look really lovely, and then finishing it off with a few gems as well. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial showing you how easy it is to create some beautiful little postage stamp decorations or toppers for your cards, for your journals, for your scrapbooking using the Page Starters collection from Arden Creative Studios. So thank you so much for watching. Bye!